YOTEL Pad is a vision we had back in 2018, whereby we thought we could expand the YOTEL experience to a greater customer base. Analyzing our Go generation, our guests, people staying and loving YOTEL, we realized that we were capturing them in a very essential part of their travel, being the short-term stay in key cities such as New York, London, Singapore, etc. But those same people also have different needs, and sometimes they need a little bit more time in one of our locations because they're going for work, because they're going for leisure, because they're going for leisure, and they stay a few more days, they stay a week, and they need to stop their go, right? And we need to create a product around that. So the first inspiration for YOTEL Pad is how do we address this customer on the go, which sometimes stops. A very good example would be nomadic travelers who work from different parts of the world and stays a few weeks here and a few weeks there and so forth. How do we capture that customer? Second thing, we realized that the real estate market is changing very rapidly, and you see increasingly a number of hybrid projects whereby you're mixing different users between residential, hospitality, commercial, and offices. And that's why we see the growth of new platforms such as Airbnb and so forth, fueling a new type of customer into new types of destinations. So we thought we'd need to create a product around these two trends, one being the real estate hybrid trend and one being a different type of customer requiring a different type of accommodation. And we thought we can do that whilst keeping the same ethos and DNA as the YOTEL brand, being smart, providing the essential luxuries to our guests, using technology to facilitate the stay, to facilitate the operation of the property, and always focus on quality across the building, being into the linen, into the bathroom, into the kitchenette, and so forth. And that's how YOTEL Pad was born. And our first projects, as for the first YOTELs, were in the US. And it's fantastic today to be able to bring this to Europe. It's the first hotel, first of many, I can tell you, because it's really, I think, what YOTEL Pad stands for, being the crossroad between hospitality, residential, and commercial, is the future of our industry. A lot of the projects we look at nowadays are on themselves mixed-use projects, right? So obviously we continue doing standalone YOTELs and standalone YOTEL Air, but a lot of the projects we look at now have a residential component, so or a long stay component, or a service apartment component, whatever way we prefer to call it. So, I don't want to announce yet projects because there's a lot going on, but I can tell you that the vast majority of the pipeline we look at includes a YOTEL Pad component. And we also, this project is exceptionally important for us in Europe because we know from experience that it's all great to have a good idea, but somebody needs to prove it, and therefore I have so much passion and time and respect for our owners here who took the leap of faith and create the first YOTEL Pad. And it's much easier nowadays to show this project, make people feel it, stay with us, experience it, to develop the next one. And a lot of what's happening in Europe right now, and the general opportunity in the market, is a conversion opportunity. We see a lot of projects. The brand penetration in Europe is much lower than in the US. So there's a lot of unbranded hotels which are looking for a new positioning, being hotels, apartments, or service apartments, looking for an identity, looking to differentiate themselves from the rest of the market. So there's a conversion opportunity there. And we also see a lot of buildings which need to change their use, right? Being office buildings that want to be converted into hospitality projects, being service apartment or hotels, residential buildings which need to be converted into a more income generating type of buildings, and therefore a service apartment type of projects. And honestly, we see that across the whole of Europe. And the last thing I will add to this is that YOTEL Pad, for us as a company, allows us to look at market where we would not be looking at normally. Right? I mean, we can look into resort projects. We would have never considered doing a YOTEL on a beach resort. The YOTEL Pad certainly is an opportunity, at least in certain markets, right? Busy beach resorts, being in Greece or in Spain or in south of France. And that's why we're also, YOTEL Pad allows us to open a pipeline of projects which is completely new to us, and which is looking pretty good. Hopefully soon I'll be able to give you in prime time the next YOTEL Pad. Oh, it's, in my opinion, completely changing. I'll simplify it a little bit. In my opinion, serviced apartment traditionally were failed residential projects, right? That failed to sell, and therefore they were turned into income-generating assets. And typically, they would be luxury, very big apartments targeting very long stays. It worked. There was a demand for it at some point, for people being sent on assignments for several months from different parts of the world and requiring an apartment. If you think about it, what's the benefit of a serviced apartment? It's got service, right? Otherwise, you might as well rent a normal apartment. It's furnished and it's got service. So, if you've got a service component within a building, why do you need all the traditional facilities of a non-serviced apartment within your building? Right? Why do you need laundries? Why do you need a huge kitchen? How often do they actually get used? Very rarely. So there is this shift. I think service apartments were never really designed around what people actually want. They were just big projects being rented. Right? Then the big shift came with the arrivals of new platforms providing, essentially allowing anybody to run a service apartment, right? And obviously the most famous one being Airbnb, allowing anyone to rent its apartment with a host to anybody around the world. It created a huge new demand for this type of accommodation in different parts of the world. The trick, obviously, that everybody knows is that when you book through these platforms, you don't exactly know what you're getting. There's a bit of an issue there. You like the fact that you've got a residential project, you like the fact that you're in a prime location within a city, you like the fact that you probably have more space because you're going to stay longer, you like to have the independence from a traditional hotel, probably, but it's always give and take. You never know what you're going to get, and there's that risk, and therefore that's the problem we try to resolve. And today what you see with brands like YOTEL Pad is a new type of service apartment which are actually designed around what customer want. So they don't need to be huge, because people, when we stay extended stay or long stay nowadays, we're talking 5 days, 6 days, 7 days, 8 days. There's a few people staying longer, but generally speaking, that's what we're talking about. People actually use the service of the building. People are the same way they travel around the world, the same way they live at home probably, use a lot of the services that you can have through your smartphone, being Deliveroo to get your food, or finding a restaurant around the corner, or visiting the city. So what you need is a nest where you're going to be exceptionally happy, well done, well designed, and feel at home, but you don't need to pay for all the non-essential real estate that a typical service apartment provide you. And what you want is a guarantee on the product. You want to know, like, I'm booking one of these apartments, and I know what I'm going to get. And that's what YOTEL Pad really comes into play. You know what you're going to get. I mean, today, guests around the world are going to discover this property. That's why it's so great to be in Stratford, because it's such a cosmopolitan destination. That you've got this security of knowing that the product is great, is well designed, is well serviced. It's part of YOTEL, which is a hotel brand, a hotel management company which knows how to service hotels. It's very easy to book, it's very easy to check in, very easy to utilize, and it's the price point which is exactly what people are looking for. And I think you'll see more and more of this kind of projects going forward.